Oh, we got the light,
Ah, yes.
but
It's on the light. It's on the wrong light setting.
it is on the wrong light setting.
It looks so. It almost looks like night. Ooh, no.
Oh, and see, now that's the really wrong light setting. We're just gonna
Tune in for dark expressions. No.
Oh Lord. Okay, there we go.
Hi. I guess that's all light we can. Well, it's kind of a gloomy day.
It is a gloomy, gloomy day, isn't it? Well, but here we are, not so gloomy.
No, I'm feeling pretty good, really. I have some topics to bring up, and so I should tell you what the name of this show is, I suppose.
Let's start out with there.
Dawdle a bit.
No. Let's just do this thing. We got this thing to do. Let's do this thing.
Let's do this thing. Okay. This is called This Is Now Bridge to a Better World, and I am Teresa Mitchell.
And I'm Ani.
And we have some topics to bring up that I think will put a smile on your face and joy in your heart, which is to say that, Kamala wants to tax the billionaires. And I can't wait to talk about that because the billionaires are hopping mad about it. Before we get into that, though, first I want to scare you. I've been following H5.
I don't think you can. It doesn't work to show a screen. Oh, I'm not
going to show the screen.
Good, because that doesn't work.
This is just so I can remember what's going on.
All right.
And oh boy, am I prepared? Well, anyway, let me just go right back out of that screen. It tells me nothing. Okay, so here's the deal. There's a little town in, let's see, I think it's in Arkansas.
Is this what you sent me yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
And, the powers that be, the government has been tracking COVID and other diseases through the sewers increasingly over the last couple of years. And wastewater scan confirms a record-breaking level of H5 influenza detected in wastewater from Boone County, Arkansas, a little town called Harris. And if you remember the town of Harris, Arkansas, it's because it's considered the most racist town in America. I don't know if it actually is, but it's got to be close. I mean, they love their racism, and they're loud and proud about it. When there was a Black Lives Matter demonstration there a couple of years back, it was confronted by men with Confederate flags and AR-15s. So this town, which is not an agricultural town, has had a gigantic increase. Well, in the first place, it has H5N1 in the sewer, which is significant because it's not everywhere. But it is significant that it's not an agricultural town. And the amount that it has is 10 times the amount anybody's got anywhere else. So this has really got eyeballs turning to Boone County, Arkansas. And the question right now is why? And we don't have an answer. And so I bring it up so that you will know that this thing is happening. It may turn out to be significant. H5N1, as you may know, is bird flu and has been moving to mammals across the world. It has killed off mink. It has killed off walruses. It's killed off flocks of penguins, which are not mammals, of course, but it tends to announce itself by suddenly killing off a large amount of animals. And fortunately, there's been no large kill-off of anything that we know of in Boone, Arkansas. By the way, it also notoriously affects cats. So I've been saying, half jokingly, that we've got a race going on right now between the H5N1 that, due to a complete lack of regulation, or near complete, has actually had its broken bits in pasteurized milk across the nation. It's a race between us getting very elated by that and it actually going human to human. So right now it is not going human to human, but there's scary things happening in Arkansas, and you should know.
And because that is so off the charts, there are some people questioning the accuracy of that particular reading. Just to say before the panic ensues, that because it is off the charts, the first thing to do is check the equipment. The first thing to do is verify that reading.
Yeah.
But it does definitely look like something to track and just sort of remember. Track. Keep our eyes on what is happening with H5N1. It is a particularly, from what I understand, particularly virulent and deadly. And so we want to make sure that if, in fact, something is, if there is a new pandemic around the corner, that we respond sensibly and not in a panic, not like we saw 4 years ago. But hopefully, we have learned to. I don't know. What have we learned?
Well-
what real hope do I have? No, hopefully we have learned to prepare ourselves, to make sure we have a lot of the, protective clothing for first responders and doctors and nurses, and that we have hopefully learned to pay attention to public health.
Although there
I
are
said
already
that with a
triple
straight
lines, internet idiots who are politicizing it and proudly drinking raw milk and saying, look, it's not harming me. And of course, it's not harming them right now. The fools. Anyway,
These are the same people that put
aggressive fools. That's what.
bandages on their ear.
Yeah.
I just don't even. Anyways,
Well, anyway,
let's get on to the rest of the story. shall
Well,
we?
one more related thing. COVID actually is quite active. If you haven't heard, it is quite rational to mask up in crowded places right now and to be careful about washing your hands, because it may not kill you, but it may kill someone you love.
And repeated exposures to COVID infections do seem to, how do we say, increase your risk
Enter
of
the brains.
ongoing long COVID and the lingering aftermath of having COVID in the body. So,
Yuck. I hate that stuff. Anyway, so that was the bad part. Now let's get on to the good part, which is that
raw
Kamala.
milk and roadkill. Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for that comment this morning.
Which is that Kamala proposes to tax billionaires at 25% of the value. Now this is
on to the tempe of the show then. Yes. So again, just say it again.
Yeah.
You ran that real fast.
Kamala proposes to tax billionaires at 25%.
We love this.
Value, not income, because they dodge income very neatly.
Look, I didn't actually make anything last year. It's just my billions have increased.
Yeah, they try to convince.
It's amazing how that works. It just increases as
Yeah.
if by magic. The little elves come and they increase my wealth. I didn't
Yes,
make any.
I might borrow a little against it,
You
a few million
know.
here, a jet there, a yacht here, but didn't actually get income.
Right. And so seeing around that corner, the proposed tax is, again, say it.
25%.
I know you like saying it.
Against realized and unrealized increases in value. And what that boils down to is, since we're in this context of people who have these zillions, people who have a net worth of over $100 million, it only applies to them. And they do have these dodges. Well, there's a way to figure out, even though they're very dodgy and use computers to shift things around quickly, just how much money they're sucking into their accounts. I don't like to say they made the money. They don't.
They
make
don't.
the money. You and I make money. They suck it out of our wages. Anyway.
And life's blood.
Yes. And the planet. And so this is something that could easily just be thrown out there, except that it's a little more heavy than that. This is, I think that this is a big reason why there was such a gigantic push, especially by the New York Times, which is a very rich family, to get rid of Biden, because actually it's Biden's idea. And Kamala is saying, 25%, let's actually do that. Now, in the first place, to actually put this tax forward, to actually get it passed, will require a blue wave. It will require a massive effort, the type that we've been talking about, taking this tremendous enthusiasm after the Democratic Party somehow figured out how to get people's attention and translate that into massive wins. And despite the massive corruption and election theft that is being planned by the Republicans. So it's definitely a maybe.
Well, and I'm going to, if I can just butt in for a moment and say, I get how the Democrats actually did that thing to generate the enthusiasm. Again, we are now seeing in Harris and Walz something to actually be truly excited about. right? Something to actually put our hope behind, to to see these people who are really embodying so much of our brilliant diversity in this country, to see the genuine love that is there for Waltz and his family, between his kids and his wife and himself. That's genuine, that's real, that's palpable.
We haven't seen that
And to see,
before.
right, and to see Harris's husband and the stepkids, again, sharing so much love and pride, and the fact that the stepkids, well, they're not cookie cutter little rich kids, that the stepdaughter is covered in tattoos, and I'm gonna say, looks very akin to young folks that I know personally, that there is um,
She looked approachable, didn't she?
a realness, there is a relatableness, and the fact that there is human emotion that is being shown and centered, and that emotion is love, and that emotion is excitement. That we are hearing them talk about, building a better America for all Americans. This is political rhetoric, but it's not the political rhetoric we've been hearing for a while. And so, what I really am here to say this morning is, we have, Biden has left a really good legacy in many, many ways, but also was not really, how do I say, maybe what I want to say more is, now that we have Harris and Walz, who are excitedly, enthusiastically taking on their candidacies to build America, uh, to build America's infrastructure straight from, redistributing the wealth of the billionaires who have stolen this money basically from the American coffers through their tax dodging. Let's face facts, that's the only way you accrue that much wealth. To say that they're going to redistribute it, to say that they will protect the rights of the disenfranchised, of the LGBTQ, of the folks that haven't had a chance, right? To hear that and to know some of their past gives me hope that it will actually happen, that they're genuinely bringing up these points.
Yeah, the word is genuine. I mean, that's what I'm really excited about. I mean, compare them. Remember that horrible scene many years ago now in 2016 at the Republican convention, and Trump won the nomination, and he stands on stage, and his poor daughter, I mean, sure, she's a creep too, but in this frame, his poor daughter has to stand on stage, and the creep felt her up.
Right. She has to stand on stage while her daddy fondles her bum,
Yeah.
and then proceeds to hug and hump an American flag. We're not sure what's going on
Well,
with
you
that.
can see her freeze up. I mean, this is
Sure.
a deeply cruel, selfish man. And their family are, of course, stunned and cruel people themselves. And then compare that with Walz's family. You know, his son is so happy to see him being nominated the vice president of the United States for the candidacy of the vice president, that he's crying. He's openly crying. What a sweetheart. And it really, it almost makes me cry thinking about it. I loved it. And I love seeing how happy his daughter was. She looks relatable, as you said. And all of these stories about him and what he's like and how he's, the coach and builds people up is evidently true. This is where he's coming from.
Go figure.
No.
I'm so excited that we have a Midwestern nice dad.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
well, the thing is,
there's a
at 25,
niceness.
yeah.
And I'm just going to say I'm here for it. I am so very, very, very bored, tired, and turned off by the cruel, fearful displays of the mega crowd, that we are really, our job now is to turn towards love, to turn towards kindness, and to organize like hell, to really have that take off, because we have been beaten down so hard as a populace. We have been so turned off. We have been so calloused, jaded, that we feel that we cannot trust the politic. We turn away from it. So many people have become just apathetic, right? Not voting. Because what good will it do? Well, actually, at this point in history, we have a chance to do a whole lot of good. And
Yeah, and
I wholly back this, want to see us spread this enthusiasm and this actual work for positive change, not just working against something, but working for something. It's a much stronger stance, and I'm excited about it.
yeah, if someone else had said that 25% tax on billionaires, well, it is, like I said, it's something that can only be reached if we all work very hard to get it and continue to push her to actually move forward with that promise.
Yeah.
It's going to have to go into the House of Representatives, which is going to have to be absolutely owned by Democrats. But aside from all that, can you imagine if MAGA had come out and said, we'll offer this way of bringing $10 trillion, of bringing $10 trillion. I mean, and then they do offer to have, they'll make you rich. You'll be so tired of being rich, they say. You can see that they're liars. They don't give a damn about the little people. They talk us down. They consider us little people, basement people, as Trump is alleged to have said. And, you can just dismiss that out of hand when you see some promise of actually bringing wealth back. But a fairer tax standard is actually what brought about the original explosion of wealth in the U.S. post-World War II. I mean, it's true that the U.S. had, the corporations had unfettered access to markets across the world. But the other part of the post-war wealth boom, I hear a boom when I say that, was the tax structure. It was a 90% marginal tax structure. And what that meant, aside from bringing in a tremendous amount of money, which was needed to pay back the debt for winning the war, was that corporate heads necessarily, they were faced with the profits the gross profits that they were making. They could not make that into the net profit the way they do now. They could not do what corporations do now, which is to take the net profit, suck it out as hard as they can to pay as little as possible, to ignore their employees' desires and needs, and to shift to entire different populations of employees where they possibly can, and then reinvest that into stock to make the rich richer. This is the paradigm that has sucked the wealth out of the United States. Instead, if they're going to be taxed at this rate or at a 90% marginal tax rate, they still want to, naturally, they want to enjoy the benefits of all this wealth that the corporation has brought in. And so they found a way to do that in the 50s and 60s, which was, they were not actually being altruistic, these corporate managers. They just realized that they had a choice of making the gross profit part of large wage packages for their employees. And so what they did is they built these fiefdoms in which people were actually glad to see them because they were making these tremendous wages for the first times in their life. I mean, if you look at the amount of wages that people were bringing in, that ordinary working people, we don't like to say that in the United States, we like to say middle class, like everyone's middle class, but we created a middle class with that 90% marginal, because the money had to be distributed to the employees. Otherwise, it went entirely out of the corporation. So they had a choice. So they could be the local hero. They could live a life in which there were 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 employees who were glad to see them, or they could just give it to the government. So it had this accidentally compassionate effect, this accidentally wealth distributing effect. And I am so glad to see Kamala Harris come out and say, yeah, this is a start. The 25% is a big bite of billions of dollars. It won't hurt billionaires at all, because they never should have 1 billion in the first place. Having 1 billion is so grotesquely excessive. It should never have existed. But, to take 25% of tens or hundreds of billions of dollars will bring in 10 trillion at the least over a decade. And that can transform the society back to what the MAGAs think they're heading towards.
But they're in a diluted Ponzi scheme.
Yes. they would only be robbed further under the
Right.
paradigm that Trump proposes. But under a serious taxation regime, not only could wealth be restored to the American population, which it desperately needs to be. I mean, this is why you have people on the streets. This is why we have crime. This is why people are depressed, is because they simply have no way to get forward. They
Right.
can't even make their rent, much less get ahead. If that were changed,
Right. At this point, look at the federal minimum wage has still not actually been raised
yeah, that
to
is so
$15 an hour, which is still at this time
cruel, so
inadequate.
criminal. Yeah,
Right? Like it has not even achieved $15 an hour, which was the demand 12 years ago. At this point, it needs to be $22 an hour, $25 an hour to actually keep up with what has happened in our economy.
what I'm saying is this door is opening, like in The Wizard of Oz or Willy Wonka. It's like this door is opening to this world that has all this color in it. This is a fantastic opening. This is a different world for us to live in. And I don't know that the Democrats have sold it as hard as it needs to be sold. I mean, we could be actually having a decent life with these tax policies in place. And so I urge you to spread the word and to understand just how different the society would be. It would take a few years, but even after just a few years, even after 4 or 10 years, you start seeing difference. After 20 years of this would be a different, much calmer, much more peaceful society.
Absolutely. And I absolutely agree. I think it's a good start. A 25% tax on billionaire wealth, total wealth, is an excellent start. I saw somebody propose the other day, suggest that there just is a $12 million cap on wealth, on earnings. And I should say earnings, not wealth. That there should be. That is, what I thought I said. That there should be a cap at $12 million a year. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. How would they come up with that? Because I didn't quite see it there. Super arbitrary at the moment. They went on to explain that really, if anyone needs more than $1 million a month as a salary to stay motivated to do their job, they need some serious psychological intervention.
You would cut them off at $1 million
I would cut them off at $1 million a month. And I think that they just need to learn to live within those means.
So hard.
I know. What can you know? And I started sort of thinking, I'm like, the hell would you do with $1 million each and every month? What would you do? I mean, you just sort of run out of things, right? So then you just want to pool it and amass great wealth so you can amass greater power. And then you can, buy Twitter or some shit? Like what? So I am all about it. I think that this 25% tax on wealth is an excellent start. But really, we do need to look at a maximum wage, much like we look at a minimum wage. And those two ends of the spectrum need to be brought far closer together. And that's sort of what I have to say about that. I want to get back to the true excitement I feel for this this campaign, because I feel like, yes, they are bringing forth these ideas. Biden, as you said, had this idea, but here it is again, revitalized. I'm just going to say revitalized in a campaign that is focusing on human decency, on values of diversity in a true sense, and not sort of a lip service, embarrassing stunt kind of mainstream politic kind of way.
Yeah, these people actually mean it.
These people actually seem to be living it. When you look at their kids, when you look at them, it is who they are. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited to actually have some skin in the game. Like, we need to organize really tremendously to get this duo elected. And while Cult 45 rallies bring together folks to express the worst in themselves, to wallow in hatred and sneering and division, the Harris and Walz rallies really are pulling people together and talking to our better natures, our hope for a better country and a better world. And so I get it. They're not perfect. I get it. They ignored cries to have a Palestinian speaker at the DNC. Even as Sean Fain and the United Auto Workers of America and other organized factions who have been backing and supporting yelled loudly to please include Palestinian voice in the DNC in light of what is happening with the genocide in this world. That didn't happen. Am I going to turn my back on them? Am I going to say, well, then they didn't listen and that's it, and I'm just not going to do anything? No, because we cannot get, and this might sound callous because we are talking about genocide, but we cannot get single tunnel vision. We have to, in fact, support this ticket, which is the best we've seen in my lifetime. And we have to continue to organize, continue that work, because there is no one magic candidate that is going to be able to make this world what we truly need and want it to be. And so I'm going to get around to talking about this article. It's posted on Common Dreams. It's by Peter Bloom, and it is called "Why Progressives Must Let Go of Their Democratic Goldilocks Complex." And basically, he goes on to say that there is no perfect candidate. We cannot find this one's too capitalistic. This one's too militaristic. This one's just right. That's not really going to happen. We're never going to find the just right candidate.
No Messiah.
We don't. That's it. That's exactly it. We cannot expect somebody to come in and save us. We really do have only ourselves to save us. But we can elect this ticket and build real progress. And then in the article, Bloom writes, real progress demands building grassroots organizations, reinvigorating labor movements, creating mutual aid networks, and fostering broad coalitions that address the interconnected nature of various forms of oppression. Only by letting go of the Goldilocks complex and embracing the challenging work of building socialist alternatives can progressives move beyond the cycle of electoral disappointment and begin to address the true scale of the challenges we face, working towards the future of genuine freedom, equality, and sustainability for all.
You said the S word.
And sustainability.
Socialist.
Oh, yeah, that one. I did. And I think that is absolutely true. We cannot expect this duo to pull it all off. They cannot do that single-handedly. And what I want to sort of point out is we had some hope following up on the 8 years of Little Bush, Bush the Lesser, that Obama, remember, hope, was going to create all of the change. And it was really super hard to organize when Obama was the president because he was pretty good.
There was this feeling
He was
like, oh,
pretty
okay,
good.
we put a black man and we fixed everything. So,
Well, it wasn't. I think it was beyond we put a black man in office. I think it was he's pretty good. He did a lot of good things. And so it was really hard to get folks to organize to continue to push him in a good direction. And so while eventually the DREAM Act came out late in his tenure, there were huge amounts of deportations happening earlier. There were huge numbers of drone strikes. And it was really hard to organize peace movements with somebody who was much friendlier in the White House. So I want to warn that we can't do that again, right? The stakes are really super high. If we have people who are more susceptible to hearing the voices of the people during their administration, then the voices of the people have to be super loud and to continue to demand a ceasefire, to continue to demand a peace dividend, right? Remember the peace dividend after the Cold War? We were going to
I
like
do.
do this peace dividend thing and
Oh boy, they were
really
terrified about
look
that
at,
too. It's like the whole
yeah,
establishment from top to bottom, the Pentagon, everyone's like, peace dividend. Oh no, we've got to get it. They actually said, we've got to get a new enemy.
yeah,
And they
what
did.
America needs is a new enemy. That was actually said.
Dick Cheney took care of that.
And yeah, welcome to it. Welcome to the early aughts. So we have to continue pushing. We have to continue organizing. We have to continue to grow brilliant and vibrant grassroots movements to push the Harris Walz White House, yes, please, in a more progressive direction with less militarism and higher concentration on peace, even as we transition to a green economy and build the infrastructure at home. I'm here for it. I hope you are too.
Gratis ad parnasum. Well, yeah, and actually I am a socialist, and so I'm not saying all of these socialist things. I'm saying that the door to this can be opened if we can actually push in these decent people. And yes, it is in the context of this bloody imperialism, and we'll have to address that right away. But if we can get in the decent people, we can start moving towards a lot of the things that we actually want. I'm pretty excited by there's so many comments here. I can't actually read them because my eyes aren't good enough. I'll read them after the fact.
Okay. So is that
I think
where
we've
we're at?
discussed this sufficiently for a half-hour podcast.
All right, then let me go ahead and say for our tarot reading du jour, I guess I should say de week. We have the Ace of Pentacles.
Ace is upside down.
Yeah, we do. The ace is upside down. It's true. We have the Two of Swords. We might remember this cat from last week when he showed up.
It's one of my faves.
And we have Death, which in the kitty deck is, symbolized in a vacuum cleaner. So what does it all mean? One might ask. Well, we have the inversed Ace of Pentacles is a call to really not get fixated on material wins right now, that there are bigger things afoot, that we have to focus on our hearts, we have to focus on our willpower, we have to focus on our analysis. That's the word I was looking for. I'm like, the air element, it's around communication. Why can't I think of the word analysis? Yes. The ideas, and that we need to really push without a whole lot of being super tunnel visioned. We don't want to have any one thing cloud the view. We also then, that's the card I'm looking for. This card talks about using our voices, but it's also about stretching our perspectives. It's about looking at things from multiple sides. It's the Two of Swords. It's around analysis. It's, again, around applying some pretty deep thought to our current situation and letting the mind start to solve. And we cannot start to solve the problem if we don't have a full range of solutions. So it's, again, not getting stuck in one idea. It's about taking a large survey and letting our minds do the work, analyzing which path is the right path, and using our words to bring it about, to advocate. The loud yowl of the cat. And then we have Death. It's a card that tends to freak people out, but really Death is about radical change. That is its meaning in the tarot deck. And it's about radical change. It's going to happen. It is underway. And so it is best to acknowledge that. And as the author of this deck portrays it as the vacuum, she notes that the vacuuming is going to happen, right? Change is going to happen. So we can either be like the cool cat and just sort of like watch from on high and lick a paw and be like, yeah, yeah, we know it's going to end sometime soon. Or we can freak the F out and scatter and be really ineffective. So I'm going to suggest that this all adds up to there's a lot of issues of heart and mind and will to focus on that we have to take a very broad perspective, not get tunnel vision, use our voices, and be prepared for subtle and not so subtle big shifts. Take advantage of them because we know they're going to happen, and continue to move on forward using our voices and very broad perspectives. I think that we call that trying to make very broad-based movements with lots and lots of allies, not getting tunnel visioned into who you can work with and who you can't, and that sort of thing, but to really focus on the broadest, most common cause, putting our analysis forward and letting that guide us right now.
All right, then. You know what? I saw the death card. I thought of things that probably it's not applying to here, but I thought of some paradigms that I would like to see die. I would like to see the trickle-down paradigm die. It hasn't completely yet, but I would like to see people kind of wake up from that and realize, no, you're not a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. Wealth for the wealthy will never trickle down to you. That's not how it works.
Well, there is sort of a trickle down that happens, but it's not. It's more like piddle down, I think is what we call that as the billionaires.
From the top floor.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, I mean, and that could definitely be part of that change. Like what paradigms need to be put to rest, as it were, and what do we want to have brought in? This is a time of change. It's a time of great change. Let us guide it with wisdom. Let us guide it with intellect. Let us apply good analysis and, roll those dice. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Really. Thanks for tuning in. Our love goes out to you and to all the ships at sea. Oh, yeah. Graphics department.
Cheery bye.